It's April 19, 2016. We're conducting the Oral History Project over the bridge at the Balboa Island Museum. We're here with Mayor Diane Dixon, and my first question for you is, where did you grow up?
I was born in Chicago, and my family moved west, first to Arizona in the late 50s, and then I went to school in Palo Alto, California, in high school. And then I came, and then my parents followed. I came down to Southern California when I attended USC.
And you studied political science there.
I did.
So we were interested in learning how that shaped your career and subject.
Well, I studied political science, and I then later in life ran for public office. I've always enjoyed politics. As a very young girl, I was exposed to politics at a very young age. My parents were in the newspaper business, and they owned community newspapers, and so at a very young age, should I be looking at, which camera should I be looking at? Or you? I should be.
Myself.
Or you let it
out. Very conversational.
Right.
So whichever.
So at a very young age, I was exposed to meeting with local politicians and the governor and U.S. senators, and if my father had been a doctor, I probably would have gone into medicine. But my parents were very much involved in local government, local politics, writing about it, speaking about issues, and how to make communities strong. And the dinner table, family dinner table, was all about how to make a better community. That's just all I knew. So there was a presidential election, and I was about 9 years old. And it was Pat Dixon, actually, who put a carnation on my sweater. We were at an event, and I said, oh, that's, I was, 9 years old? I thought, this is what I want to do. Be in parades and meet people and talk to people and do things as it evolved. And I just have always been interested in government and how government works and making a difference. And I majored in political science and worked in campaigns as a volunteer and staffer when I was in college, and then out of college up in Los Angeles. I worked on a number of city council campaigns for LA City Council and US Senate. And then I evolved into, then I worked for Ronald Reagan when he was post-governor, and then getting organized to run for president. This is the late 70s. And then I went really more into the corporate side of corporate affairs, public relations, communications, marketing, and ended up working for a company called Avery. And I was there for 30 years and headed up government relations, public affairs, communications, marketing, investor relations. I did that for 30 years, where I ended as senior vice president of corporate affairs. So I never had the time to run for office. I was always on an airplane. Avery is a global company headquartered in Pasadena, and I was always on an airplane traveling somewhere doing government relations from Sacramento to Shanghai. And when my husband and I bought our home on Lido, about 6 years ago now, and I retired, but I don't use that word, retired. And so I had always been involved during my corporate career in community relations. I've served on many boards. You saw that in my biography. United Way, YMCA, USC, various schools and diseases. And I knew that when I came down here that I wanted to do something different to integrate myself into the community, and started to talk to people, and it coincided with the fact that a council district had turned out and there would be no women on the city council, and no one else was running. And I thought, if not now, when? And if not me, who? I've always lived my life with a sense of not having regrets, making decisions and so I always tend to project myself. Now, 5 years from now, am I going to look back and wish that I had done this and didn't? And so I'm going to do it. And so I went around the community and talked to a lot of people, met a lot of people here on Balboa Island, although this was not my district, but just to understand the needs of the community. I spent my whole, being in a journalism family and then in community relations, listening to people. I mean, I've spent my whole professional life listening to shareholders, listening to customers, listening to community, listening to neighbors. And after you do this for 4 decades, you realize that's a skill set that has application if you are an elected official. So I had a great career in the private sector, and my husband was in the public sector. He was a senior prosecutor, assistant district attorney in Los Angeles, the number 3 head of all major crime in Los Angeles, trials in Los Angeles. So we've been oriented to working in the community to make our communities better and stronger and safer. So it's very natural for me to say, oh, I could do this. I knew I could run. I knew I could get it organized, but could I win? That's what I had to go around the community. And because we were relatively new on some level, but as I was telling Shirley a moment ago, my husband grew up here. He's from a swimmer, sailor, surfer family. He was a lifeguard for 30 years in addition to being a prosecutor, so water is important to us. And his father always had a boat down here, and so he always came down here. I started coming down here in the 70s at SC. So, and then 95% of my RSC friends live in Newport Beach, so it was an easy transition. My sister lives in Costa Mesa, so I've been coming down here for decades. So,
would you share a little bit about what changes you've seen over time in Newport Beach?
you know, it's funny. It's changed and it hasn't changed. I mean, that's what is special. My husband and I, just as you look back in our lives, we've oriented our living situation where we live into communities. We lived for a short period of time in Palos Verdes Estates, which is a very small community with strong, long roots. And we spent 30 years in Pasadena, again, strong, community-centered environment. And then so coming down to Newport Beach was just in furtherance of what we look for and where we want to live. And what is remarkable that a lot has changed, but a lot has stayed the same. And that, frankly, is the magic, is the essence of what makes our community special, and that what I want to help to protect. We have to grow, but we have to, in fact, I quoted in today's Register because the Discovery Cube and Exploration are merging, and our nautical history is very important as a community. And what I said yesterday to the reporter is we want to respect the past, but move forward into the future. So balancing the two is critically important, because that is what that's the soul of our community. I have these kinds of conversations a lot with residents on the peninsula, where is my district, because there's a fervent desire to preserve the soul of Newport Beach. That and Balboa Island are the oldest parts, and so there are many demands as an elected official for a representative who represents Balboa Island, like Ed Selich has. And for me, because we have an older infrastructure, we have an older culture, we have a mixed economy, if you will. So there are different demands on us. So my job is to preserve and protect and grow, and try to find a happy medium that will make most of the people happy most of the time.
Would you share a little bit more about your work in the village? I know you're working with a team, a committee to do those things, and since we're so intrinsically tied together with our ferry,
sure,
we have such a shared history.
Oh, you mean Balboa Village? Oh my gosh, yeah, it's really exciting. That's a very good point, because just with the Explorations, so much comes from people get over there, and we encourage that. In fact, I was just talking with somebody yesterday, because parking is such an issue everywhere, here as well as Balboa Village, and trying to create maybe a water shuttle system privately. These ideas have happened many times, but there is a private entity interested based in Balboa Village, to have the necessary fleet inventory of 3 or 4 boats to shuttle people around from here to there. So it would really be exciting, and if it does not require taxpayer funds to do it, then it will survive and be just a private enterprise that I would love to see happen. So the economic revitalization is key to Balboa Village, much more so than Balboa Island. But you have your turnover of stores here, and I would love Balboa Village to have the vibrancy of Balboa Island in many respects, and it's really been a problem because of the Balboa Theater, and now that's the problems I think are going to go away in terms of the major anchor problems. Balboa Theater, as we took action a week or so ago at the council level to sign an exclusive negotiating agreement with a private entity, Lab Holdings, to acquire the property of Balboa Theater and preserve and protect it as a performing arts venue as well as a retail food service entity. So that's one side of Balboa Village. Then with Explore Ocean becoming revitalized with its partnership with Discovery Cube, it's tremendous. And what we've done as a city, and this precedes me, but I'm very supportive of, through its master plan, the Balboa Village master plan of about 2010, 9 and 10, community-based, citizen-based, to identify some key factors to stimulate investment and business activity. We've removed, the city council has removed the parking requirements for Balboa Village, which doesn't seem like much, but it means a lot if you are a retail or a restaurant and the city codes require you to have 10 or 15 parking spaces because of the size of your establishment. I mean, that just eliminates everybody, because where are you going to find 10 or 15 parking spaces? So by removing that, it is a game changer, if you will, to attract different types of businesses, resident serving businesses to Balboa Village and to Balboa Island. I think that would apply. I talked to a lot of business owners and a lot of people who care about our community, and it really is important that we emphasize resident serving. Of course, we want to appeal to visitors. That's part of our lifeblood, but because so many of our businesses need to be economically strong 12 months out of the year, rather they make their year in a few months of the year. But serving residents would help sustain that annual model. So I am very, want me to stop talking?
Okay. Go ahead.
I am very much committed to supporting resident serving as well as visitor serving. That's important. As I sit here on Balboa Island, it's very important, but you also want to serve residents and be a place where they can shop and walk to the shops and such. So it's finding that balance and making it possible for companies to have a business model that's successful and operating in our village and our community. So it will be a wonderful partnership, really more than ever, to link Balboa Island and Balboa Village together in their dual economic partnerships, if you will. I think Balboa Village can be more of a partner and will be going forward.
Excellent. What do you think are some of the best accomplishments of the city as a whole, of lately, or in general? So if there's something you'd like to share.
Well, I think we are, Orange County is growing, and I mean, if you look at the macro view of the country, frankly, since the recession, it really put it in clear relief that we live in one of the most economically vibrant parts of the country, if not the world. And we are rich with a beautiful environment, natural environment in Newport Beach, the water, the harbor, the Back Bay, the beaches. I mean, that is just priceless. So we have people who want to come here. We have people who want to invest here, people who want to do business here, people who want to live here. So how do you balance and reconcile the demands that are being placed on Newport Beach to serve, to maintain and protect and prepare for how that grows? So managing the growth is really critical. What the prior councils, the city has done is to prepare very well financially and through a vision of retrofitting and improving the infrastructure of our city. I mean, as Orange County goes, we are one of the oldest cities in Orange County. So particularly my district and Peninsula, we are just replacing water mains that are 80 years old. I mean, we have the same situation here. You've been going through this. So the newer part of the city doesn't have that, and developers, when they have developed in the last 30 years, have taken care of all that infrastructure. So the city today has to manage the demands that are in many ways an older city, and communicate with the residents that we all have to participate in this process. Also, what many people don't realize, you folks do, but we may be a city population of 87,000, but we have 9 million visitors annually. That puts tremendous strain on our fire and police and public services, our roadways. We want them. That's important economically, absolutely. We are so gifted to have 9 million people who want to come to our community and spend money and pay to park.
Yeah.
I mean, really. Just imagine if we were just a small little town and no one came, we were just off the side of the road. We would not have the property value, economic value that we have, which have made people's lives very comfortable because the demand for living in Newport Beach is what it is. The property values, the retail sales tax, and our visitor tax are 3 primary revenue sources, the largest to fund our city. If our property values, if we don't invest publicly and privately in our city, which creates demand and it creates value for people to come here and live and increase and make our city attractive to live and do business, people weren't interested, the property values would not increase. Property taxes would be stagnant. And those revenues, we do not get 100% of our property taxes, only 17% come back from the state, and 1% of our sales taxes come back to Newport Beach. But 100% of our hospitality TOT taxes come back. That's $23 million out of a $200 million budget we get from hospitality. So a lot of people, it's a tough thing. How do you balance the visitors, the traffic, that they bring in revenue? And so if you're in business, revenue is important. You don't want to close your door to opportunities, but you have to manage that. What kind of city do we want? The city's been very good, back to your original question, very planful. The 2006 general plan really set out the plan for the city's growth. And people can disagree with it, the people voted it in 2006, and that's what the city operates under, is that 2006 general plan. And that's a good plan, it's a working plan, and it deals with land and transportation and housing and commercial entities, marine serving entities, which are really important, particularly in my district as well as Balboa Island. I mean, how wonderful is it that we are a modern community with 9 million visitors, but our ferry that's been operating for 107 years is iconic, and it's still functional. I mean, it's critical to who we are, but yet how to get around. So we are blending the past and the present to move forward into the future.
Would you share your earliest memory at Balboa Island in your SCD years?
Okay, well I can remember frozen bananas right over here, Dad. We rented a house, a group of friends. I can't even remember where it was, and I mean we just hung out. I think it was between my freshman and sophomore year at SC. We came down here with about 4 other gals, and we rented a house. And enjoyed the beach and the frozen bananas, and I remember one of my friends grew up in Santa Ana, and she had been going to this store called Apropos at Fashion Island. It's not there anymore now, actually years ago. Oh, this was like 1971. Oh, we all had to go to Apropos. And there were a couple of other stores that I remember shopping in. Fashion Island was very different then.
Goodness, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, J.C. Penney.
Oh, J.C. Penney.
Neighbor store.
That was like a big deal.
Yeah. And what was the name of the coffee shop?
Coco's?
What?
Coco's?
Coco's. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And we came down here when then as life moved on, and my husband and I were living in Palos Verdes. That's when our daughter was born, and we would come down here at Christmas and shop. And anyway, so my earliest memories just are fond, wonderful memories. Balboa Island, frozen bananas. I don't remember eating anything else other than frozen bananas. And having fun and just enjoying, as a young college student girl, just the wonderful pleasures of living in Newport Beach. And all my friends were from down here, or moving down here, or had homes down here. So it was just really a natural place to go. I was asking my husband though, when he would come down here, it was before the 405 freeway. And they would take the 5, I guess, to Harbor Boulevard and all the way down here. Or I guess that's how they came. So he remembers that too. I remember a lot of green space. That's in my, I remember that. I've seen it fill up over the decades, so I remember those years.
So would you share a little?
Oh, and let me just tell you one other story I just remembered I wanted to tell you. 1967? 66. I was in school, boarding school. I went to boarding school in Palo Alto, and I met my parents and my sister down here. We were going to Disneyland, and we flew into Santa Ana Airport, which was called at the time, on Bonanza Airlines. And it's where John Wayne is now, and it was just a little shack. I remember that like it was yesterday. And we went to Disneyland, I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, we went to Disney. My first visit to Disneyland was 1955, the year it opened. We came. I can't believe, I don't know how my parents organized that, but we did. And we were here in the year 55 or 56, whenever Disneyland opened. But so I've been coming here a lot. And this is where I needed to end up.
Do you have more special holiday memories that relate back to the island? You had mentioned your family coming here for Christmas.
Well, the decorations, I mean, it's just been,
Okay.
it's just embedded in my mind, just coming down here, looking at the beautiful decorations, holiday decorations. The ferry, I mean, it's just iconic, it's family traditions. I have a grandson, my daughter lives in New York City, but it is, and his first memories are getting his frozen banana, I mean, as a toddler out here and sitting on a bench. And then riding the ferry, and I mean, it goes on for generations, as you know better than I. So I'm happy to continue those family memories and traditions.
Would you have ever encountered a celebrity here on the
And I
island?
have not.
Okay.
I met John Wayne. I have a picture of myself with John Wayne, but it wasn't here. It was in LA, I think it was. I have a picture. I don't know where it was taken, but I met John Wayne. Maybe where was that? I remember, I could see it in my mind. It's somewhere in my home in a box.
How about any other stories regarding businesses here on Marine Avenue that they exist now or they don't anymore? So
I remember,
Oh.
Bill Gin has been here a long time.
Yes.
I remember going in there. I just, just as you drive down Marine Avenue now, I mean, there are just so many, and that's what makes it unique, the specialty stores that are here that are not chain, and they're just unique, and their items are special to those who come here. So I honestly cannot remember all the names. I just remember they've always been unique and fun and beachy and nautical.
Hershey's, probably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Jolly Roger?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's it. Jolly Roger.
Right.
Where was that?
We're
Wellness.
Wellness now.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Oh, I was there many, many times.
Huh.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
It's treasured here, so.
Oh, it is. And one of the houses we rented was on the canal, and walking around the island and running and jogging, and I mean, it's just even though I didn't live here for many years, so many of my formative memories took place down here.
Do you have a unique feeling driving over the bridge? Our full-time residents sense that it's returning home, but visitors alike have always.
Well, you feel like you're going
so.
into a special place. Everybody wants a special Main Street in their lives. And this Main Street is special in that it is vibrant and vital and an important part of the community. So many main streets in our world are no longer vital, and it's just really special that Marine Avenue is still special. So coming over the bridge, I could relate to that on a daily basis. I live on Lido, and so going over the bridge, it does. It's just there's a whole relief. I'm home. Whatever you're thinking about, it's washed away when you come into this beautiful street.
In Balboa Island, Marine Avenue was recently named one of the best main streets in Southern California.
Oh, I did read that. It is true.
Yeah.
It deserves that. Amazing.
It was online.
We put it on
There was
Facebook,
something
so
else.
we
Yeah,
we
exactly.
circulated the article.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, well, I think that was what was in my mind about
Yeah.
a lot of main streets no longer Marine Street or Marine Avenue and Main Streets are similar, don't no longer exist. But I will say it is to the credit of the community spirit and commitment. I mean, as I said when I entered today, there's so many people who have spent their lives and decades and your families here that you have sustained what is special and how important that is, that we are all benefiting from today.
Absolutely.
Passionate.
We want to ask about your thoughts of the 100 years of incorporation into the city of Newport Beach. So Balboa Island is celebrating this journey.
The centennial,
It's our
yes.
centennial. So any thoughts regarding our 100 years? That
Well, it's an amazing accomplishment, so congratulations. And it speaks to the community spirit, the dedication, the bonds that exist in the community to keep the community strong, respect our history, and build for the future in respect to the history. That's really important. I think history is very important to understand where we come from and what's important to the soul or culture and how that evolves, whether it's a community or a private organization. I do believe in that. There's value to understanding from where we come. But to you, just my hat's off to all of you and the community leaders who preserved and protected and nurtured this community to keep it a jewel and the specialness that it has. It takes a lot of effort to build a community and keep it strong. People are running a business and trying to keep their businesses alive or their personal lives alive. And yeah, I remember when the Ritz restaurant up in Fashion Island was closing, and there was a lot of community angst about that, and how can, blaming the owner, or the developer, the property owner, the restaurant company, how can you close this iconic restaurant? And I read this in the Register, and a reporter asked someone who was complaining about it and lamenting closure, well, if it's your favorite restaurant, how often do you go? When was the last time you went? Well, it's been a couple of years. And that speaks volumes to, we may have our favorite places and our memories and our iconic ferries and things, but we have to nurture them and keep them alive. They just won't exist. They're businesses. They have to be supported with customers. And so it's nice to have your favorite little store, but buy something from it. But that's what keeps a community alive for 100 years. It's the economic activity and nurturing it and promoting it and working together as a community to keep it strong and vital and preserve it for the future. And so I would say, looking forward to the next 100 years. Well, and I care a lot about that as a council person, as mayor, that, investment in seawalls, which frankly should have been started 40 years ago. Frankly, this is a big can that's been kicked down the road. And here we're dealing with it, and I, frankly, at Salch as well, do not intend to ignore it this time. It's a financial obligation to repair, fix, replace the seawalls. And that's a big ticket item, and it's a priority, and we will start funding it. Can't do it all at once. If we had $100 million just sitting around, I suppose we could, but the Park Avenue Bridge, I mean, it's an inconvenience, and I know it took years to kind of get all this organized, to respect. I was fascinated to read the staff reports for the bridge and how much connection there was in listening to the residents to minimize their dislocation and inconvenience on the bridge, which, how many cities do that?
Yeah.
How many communities do that? And the whole point is we gotta get this bridge fixed.
Right.
And so and Marine Avenue has to go through some improvement. So I've been dealing with this on the peninsula, and I just had a community meeting with residents at Central Newport yesterday afternoon, and one thing about Newport Beach residents, they care a lot, they're passionate, but they do stand back and go, yeah, we're glad we're working on it. It's just hard to live through it all, but we're glad the water mains are getting fixed and the landscape is getting fixed. It's a big inconvenience, but it will be better for it and will protect us going forward. So people recognize it's a no pain, no gain, if you will, to keep our communities looking good and strong, so people continue to come here and buy homes and buy businesses and serve the community. Then we have to keep some of this activity that's an inconvenience, keep it going. But seawalls is really important, and we all have to come together to realize why that is something we have to move forward, and we just can't allow it to be ignored anymore.
And since it's just simply an area that was stretched and man-made, those are the things that we're going to have to maintain.
That's right.
In order to keep such a beautiful atmosphere.
Oh,
It's
that's
just,
right.
It's an economic miracle.
We don't want it to be all washed over.
No. So the fact that it's here and it's in its state is just quite remarkable.
It is.
So it takes leadership to maintain those standards.
Yeah, and we're gonna get it done. It's just that it is what it is, that no one wanted to bite this bullet 40 years ago, or 10, or 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, but we're gonna do it. And it needs to be done. We can't keep pushing this away, so.
Well, thank you for ensuring our safety.
Well,
That's part of
happy to.
the role that you've forged for us. Any thoughts about our community and how we can make an impact for the future? So
Well, I think continue taking pride in your community and your history and building for the future and working together as a community of residents and business owners to serve your residents and welcome the visitors. And work together to make the community strong. And not everybody agrees all the time by any means. I deal with this all day long. A room full of very pleasant people will disagree on how to reach a goal. And if they're property owners everywhere, but property owners in Newport Beach, whether they live in Newport Coast, Peninsula Point, or Balboa Island, are passionate about protecting the value of their property with the minimum amount of inconvenience. And so it's finding that perfect balance. But going forward, keep doing what you're doing, build on what you've done. Thank goodness for Shirley and the Balboa Island Museum that will remind people of why we have such an important community and why that's important to build for the future, and to continue the excellence that you have had all these years. It doesn't just happen. You have evolves, but protecting and preserving and communicating it doesn't just happen. If it weren't for people like yourselves in this project, it would not happen. It would be lost. And it is so valuable what you're doing. So thank you. It will be appreciated by generations.
And every day we learn one more thing. I was with the Hershey's yesterday, Hershey family.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh wow. how could I have done this 5 years and I've never heard that, you know?
Really? Isn't that one, it's so rich, it
Yeah,
just is,
it is.
not everyone has a 100-year history like this, and so we're just very special. So continue to build on that
We will certainly.
and protect
do
it.
so.
And talk about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Any parting thoughts for our future listeners to this project?
Well, thank you, other than all of you who are participating, driving it, listening to it, cherish what this is, and I can't wait to hear it and to see how you put it all together, because I appreciate how we get to where we go in life, and I think it's important to build on the successes of those who came before us, so we can learn from that to move forward. So just let us know how the city can continue to help encourage and support what you do, because it's really important.
Thank you.
So thank you.
We appreciate your partnership.
Oh,
So,
sure.
Reps,